I am so beyond excited right now. I have been waiting for this package. I've been watching it slowly getting closer and closer. It came from Lithuania and I saw it in Poland. It got hung up a little bit in Denmark, I think, or DE. Is that the Netherlands? Maybe it was the Netherlands. But then I saw it arrive in America and the FedEx man just dropped it off. I decided to splurge in the Black Friday sales. And I had been looking at these cottagecore dresses for a very long time. You know, they're popular on Instagram. I was thinking of getting it's called Little Women Atelier. Those are beautiful. They're named after the Little Women characters. There's like a Beth dress, a Meg dress, an Amy dress. But I felt like they weren't quite right, and they actually didn't have a Black Friday sale. So I was just looking around. There are lots of companies that make these lovely linen dresses, and another popular one was Son de Flor, and they were having quite a good Black Friday sale, and I, was carefully weighing all the different dresses they had, and like, would it look good on me? Is this what I'm looking for? And finally, I decided to make the splurge. Here we go. Here it is. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love how it's kind of packaged up. We've got a couple cute little postcards. Oh, I hope it's gonna fit. I hope the size is right. This is actually twill linen, so it's a little bit heavier and I think a little bit more wrinkle resistant than normal linen. Here it is. Oh, it's got these beautiful, beautiful sleeves. It has a detachable Peter Pan collar. Look at that. So you can have like an oriental collar or the Peter Pan collar. Here it is. Look at this skirt. Look at it. Oh my gosh. It's so gorgeous. In all of the pictures on their website, they like deliberately have the models doing like the best skirt twirls because the skirt is a major selling point. I do love it. Okay, I'm a little conflicted because it's a little bit too big. I did look very carefully at the sizing. This is an extra small, and an extra small would be a risk, and I don't think they have free exchanges. Oh my gosh, there's a little note in your pocket that is too cute. I guess a little too big is better than a little too small. And like, it does still look nice. Like, I like to have a very fitted silhouette. It's funny how on their website, in like the photos, the sample photos, most of their models, they seem to deliberately style them with a larger, looser fit, which isn't quite my style. I like a more fitted look. So I was like looking very carefully at the models that were wearing a more fitted, tailored to their size dress to make sure, like, would it be tailored to my size? It's quite a heavy weight, which it is a winter dress. So I kind of like that. It feels very cozy. This is like the kind of signature Son de Flor thing, the white on the inside. Love the pockets, obviously. And it does have very nice tailoring. Like, I do like the way it fits, and just these sleeves. This dress, I feel like, is the perfect blend between more normal and cottagecore. Like, I would wear this dress to work. I would wear this out and about. But it's also so classy. I think I'm gonna keep it. I can't bear to send it back. Like, I can totally see myself wearing this year after year. A belt would probably also help to kind of cinch it in and just take up some of that extra fabric. It is such a beautiful snowy day. It's always so delightful when there's at least a little dusting before Christmas and all the pine trees have it outlined on every branch, just so beautiful. So I have some Advent reads right here that I thought I would catch you guys up on. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us for the reading sprints of The Man Born to be King by Dorothy L. Sayers. I'm co-hosting a read-along of this month. It is a play cycle of 12 plays dramatizing the gospel, all about the life of Christ, so really perfect for the Advent season. I'm going to try to resist chatting about it too much because we did spend, it was a 2-hour reading sprints, so it was, intervals of reading and then chatting, but we probably spent like an hour talking about this and then an hour reading silently. So if you want to hear more about The Man Born to be King, make sure you go check out that video, and also stay tuned because on New Year's Eve, December 31st at 1 p.m. Eastern, over on Christy's channel, Dostoevsky in Space, we'll be doing a live stream kind of wrap up, so I'm sure we'll be chatting about it more then with the other hosts, Carla from Raised to Walk and Victoria, a musical bookworm. So anyway, I feel like I shouldn't go on and on about it now, but it has been such a delight. Thank you so much to Christy for inviting me to be part of the read-along and for telling me about this, because I love Dorothy Sayers, but I had never even heard of this. She was commissioned to write this by the BBC, and being the rigorous scholar that she is, she went back and found the oldest version of the Gospels, the Greek, and she knew Greek, so she was able to translate it, and it's just so beautiful. I was reading the introduction during our reading sprints, and I'm almost finished with it, and it's so cool to hear the behind the scenes of her putting it together, what her aim was and what her thought process was. It really adds to the depth of listening to the radio plays, because I did get the BBC recording of it from Apple Books, so I've been listening to it. I'm on play number 9. I've been midway through number 9, right? But yeah, I love how she talks about for Christians, there can be no true tragedy. Like, tragedy is a literary type. When Christ comes in, death is no longer a tragedy. Where Christ is, cheerfulness will keep breaking in. She talks about how damnation is the only true tragedy. Yeah, I just love hearing about her process as a writer approaching this project. There's so many interesting little asides. Are we sufficiently disturbed by this extremely disturbing story? Sometimes the blunt new word will impress us more than the beautiful and old. "Except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man," said Jesus. And then, seeing perhaps that the reaction to this statement was less vigorous than it might have been, he repeated it, but this time using a strong and rather vulgar word, meaning to eat noisily like an animal. Chew, munch, crunch, champ, chump. She's thinking about how she could have translated this Greek word, which in most of the Bible readings, it's just the word eat again. They didn't try to distinguish between these two different verbs. And she also, in the end, I was pusillanimous and left it at eat, not liking to offend the ears of the faithful with what Christ actually said. This makes me want to go and learn Greek. I actually did take one semester class in biblical Greek in college, but it was only one semester, so we didn't get much further than learning the characters and learning a couple words. But this definitely makes me want to dive back into it. I love how she kind of has her own opinions about the different gospel writers because, in examining them from a literary perspective, to translate the tales of the Gospels into a play, she kind of gets to know the different Gospel writers really well, and her favorite, it seems, is John, which is so fitting because she then totally favors John in the play itself. The character John in the plays is really a delight, and I love how you can kind of see where her portrayal of it came from because she appreciated his Gospel so much. It must be remembered that of the 4 evangels, St. John's is the only one that claims to be the direct report of an eyewitness. And to anyone accustomed to the imaginative handling of documents, the internal evidence bears out this claim. The synoptists, on the whole, report the set pieces. Earlier she talked about how a lot of the gospel writers, it's kind of like a collection of aphorisms. Jesus said this, Jesus said this. It is St. John who reports the words and actions of the individual, unrepeated occasion, retrieving them from that storehouse of trained memory which, among people not made forgetful by too much pen and ink, replaces the filed records in the stenographer's notebook. It is, generally speaking, John who knows the time of year, the time of day, where people sat, and how they got from one place to another. It is John who remembers not only what Jesus said, but what the other people said to him, who can reproduce the cut and thrust of controversy and the development of an argument. Obviously, that was helpful to her because her main focus is bringing this story to life, making you feel like you're there, making you think about what it would have been like for these people who were there, actual flesh and blood people just like you and me, and Christ in flesh and blood walking around just like you and me. So yes, hugely been enjoying this and looking forward to our live stream on New Year's Eve. And then during the reading sprints, I mentioned this book, St. Louis de Montfort, True Devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. I started reading this on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, which was very appropriate. I just think it is so beautiful. This was written in the year 1712, and yet it feels like I could be sitting down with St. Louis right now and like sharing the same concerns. You know, there's like no disconnect in spite of the hundreds of years that separate you from the saints. That's why I think it's always so inspiring to read the saints, to read the classics. St. Louis de Montfort beautifully expresses how important it is to be devoted to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Mary is, of course, the Mother of God, and yet she is a creature created by the Creator. She is not God, but she is the Mother of God. And I love how St. Louis writes about that and really always keeps God first and always recognizes that, and yet also celebrates Mary and celebrates her blessedness. I love how he complains just a little bit against people who don't understand, you know, devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Here I turn to you for a moment, dear Jesus, to complain lovingly to your divine majesty that the majority of Christians, and even some of the most learned among them, do not recognize the necessary bond that unites you and your Blessed Mother. Because he, like I said, he always keeps God and Christ as number one, obviously. God could have chosen any method of coming into the world, but the one he did choose was through as a tiny child, born of the Virgin Mary. And Mary herself is so unconditionally devoted to God that we can trust her, that when we are devoted to her, she turns over all those prayers. She turns over that devotion to God. There's nothing else she would do with it. Does devotion to your Holy Mother hinder devotion to you? Does Mary keep for herself any honor we pay her? At one point he writes about how almost every single creature, you know, almost every single human being, like a devotion to them is just going to go awry in the end. But not so with Mary, because she is so perfectly devoted to God. One of his main arguments that has really resonated with me, and I'd never thought of this before, but I just love it. He talks about how God chose to come into the world through Mary. And so it makes sense that that road goes two ways, that devotion to Mary can be a way for us to reach God. He admits there are different ways to reach God, but he calls devotion to the Blessed Mary the safest, surest, and sweetest way to reach God. Our good master stooped to enclose himself in the womb of the Blessed Virgin, a captive but loving slave, and to make himself subject to her for 30 years. As I said earlier, the human mind is bewildered when it reflects seriously upon this conduct of incarnate wisdom. He did not choose to give himself in a direct manner to the human race, though he easily could have done so. He chose to come through the Virgin Mary. Thus, he did not come into the world independently of others in the flower of his manhood, but he came as a frail little child, dependent on the care and attention of his mother. Consumed with the desire to give glory to God, his Father, and save the human race, he saw no better or shorter way to do so than by submitting completely to Mary. He did this not just for the first 8, 10, or 15 years of his life like other children, but for 30 years. He gave more glory to God, his Father, during all those years of submission and dependence than he would have given by spending them working miracles, preaching far and wide, and converting all mankind. Otherwise, he would have done all these things. What immeasurable glory, then, do we give to God when, following the example of Jesus, we submit to Mary? With such a convincing and well-known example before us, can we be so foolish as to believe that there is a better and shorter way of giving God glory than by submitting ourselves to Mary as Jesus did? I just thought that was such a beautiful, beautiful reflection. He talks about the hiddenness of Mary. We don't know much about her. We don't hear much about her in the Gospels. And also the hiddenness of those first 30 years of Christ's life, the majority of Christ's life. And I just think it's such a beautiful reminder that, you know, the obvious truths of the world are not necessarily the important ones. Sometimes you have to dig, and it's going to be a little hidden. I don't tend to agree much with what modern feminists have to say about women. I don't tend to find their arguments really, truly feminist or celebrating women at all. But it's funny hearing St. Louis de Montfort celebrate Mary. Like, I feel like this is a beautiful and true feminism. her strength and her power don't have to be obvious and in your face. And just as she served God with humility, we're called to serve God with humility. And that's kind of the whole idea of here. Christ devoted himself to Mary as his mother. So if we too devote ourselves to Mary, I'm not quite finished yet, but I've just been enjoying this so much and really looking forward to finishing it up and seeing some of his specific practices of devotion. And I don't think I've quite gotten to his description of the process of consecrating yourself to the Virgin Mary. So definitely looking forward to finishing this up and putting some of these devotions into practice in my own life. St. Louis de Montfort does mention other saints who are devoted to Mary, who are many, and one of them is Ephraim the Syrian. So I have been reading some of these. There's a big section that is hymns on the Nativity. So I think I'm not going to try to finish this whole book before the end of the year, but I definitely do want to finish the hymns on the Nativity portion because they're just perfect for Advent and for preparing for Christmas. Blessed be the child who today delights Bethlehem. Blessed be the newborn who today made humanity young again. Blessed be the fruit who bowed himself down for our hunger. Blessed be the gracious one who suddenly enriched all of our poverty and filled our need. Blessed be he whose mercy inclined him to heal our sickness. This passage was very appropriate for a chilly winter day. The firstborn feast day is this day. That is first to conquer all the feast days. In the winter that robs the branches of fruit, the fruit sprang forth for us from the barren vine. In the frost that stripped all the trees, a shoot budded for us from the house of Jesse. In January, when seed hides in the earth, the staff of life sprang up from the womb. In April, when the seed springs up into the air, the sheaf propagated itself in the earth. So that's looking forward to Easter. These are pretty much my end of the year reading goals. Finishing up True Devotion, finishing up at least the Nativity hymns, finishing up Man Born to be King, and then I forgot to grab it, but I also am hoping to finish up Pascal's Pensée. I'm half of the way, 2/3 of the way through that, so it'd be lovely to finish it up before the end of the year. How many weeks of the year do we have left? I'm pretty sure Santa is going to be bringing us some books, so soon I will have many, many exciting new things to read. Assembling my Christmas gifts. Santa is sitting here with a couple of them. I ended up getting my brothers these awesome Ex Libris stamps, which I'll have to just put the pictures from the Etsy listings here because I obviously don't want to get them dirty and stamp them. But the idea is that you stamp all of your books with them. So from the library of Ex Libris. For Athos, I found a squid, which I think he will love. Aramis and Porthos sometimes watch my videos, so if you guys are watching, cover your ears, cover your eyes. Don't watch the next minute or so. I'm trusting you. I got Aramis, The Doors of Durin, because he loves Lord of the Rings. And I got Porthos, this awesome kind of woodcutting of a ship, which I believe is based on an actual 19th or 18th century book plate. So I think they'll really love them. And all three of them have libraries of their own, so they can stamp their books. And then I had to show you guys how my bookshelves wound up. I do have some new garlands. I went with these pine cones. I was thinking of using poinsettia garlands, but I couldn't find any to match the garland I already had. But Michael's had these adorable little pine cones, and I think they look so cute. I really have an impressive pine cone aesthetic going because, of course, I also have these pine cone trees right here. And then I also had to find a place for these cute little gund mice. They came with the Santa hats, but we added the bows, my mom and I. There's one other holiday package I thought it'd be fun to share. I showed you guys the beautiful I Married Adventure book ornament that the Martin and Osa Johnson Safari Museum in Chinook, Kansas sent me. I've mentioned them many times over the years. It's just so fun to keep in touch, and they've been so kind. So I thought I should send them something back, and I went to Target. They had that beautiful M&S Marks & Spencer food line. I picked out a beautiful light-up pine tree tin filled with truffles. But then I thought we couldn't send just any package to the Martin and Osa Johnson Safari Museum. So I tricked out the package with zebra stripes. I was looking at the stripes on the Osa book to try to make them somewhat similar, and I'm really pleased with how it turns out. Athos's rare books collection continues to be a bad influence on me, because now I just go on eBay, think, oh, I'll just look up that author, and then a cute book pops up and it's not too expensive, and I'm like, well, I better buy it now because it might not show up again. I feel like this book, though, is slightly justified because it's a Christmas book. This is The Substitute Guest by Grace Livingston Hill, and I was inspired because I found this book at an antique store a couple years ago, and it's just one of my favorite covers, or rather, it's not the physical cover, but the dust jacket is just so pretty and elegant. Grace Livingston Hill wrote sweet Christian romances in the 1930s. So when I saw that there was one for Christmas with such a perfect wintry cover, I decided I had to pick it up. I'm about halfway through, and it's just been so sweet. It takes place during a big snowstorm, and I love the way she builds up the storm and tells you about it. It just makes you like so happy to be warm and cozy inside under a blanket with like a cup of tea. Two of the characters have to go out on an important mission in the blizzard, and I love the matter-of-fact way Lance, one of the characters, takes it. And there's this description: if this journey was hard for Lance, he did not falter. He took it only as another hard thing that came in the day's work, and he was out to win. I just love that little description. I feel like there are so many very minor hardships that are so easy to complain about. But if you could just have that attitude, just another hard thing, I'm out to win. And then this one also was so sweet. One of the characters, Daryl, which isn't that an interesting name, is disappointed and feels like Christmas is spoiled. That isn't possible. This is her mother talking. Christmas is bigger than that. It is something heavenly and cannot be touched by things of the earth. My child, have you been thinking to celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ by arranging circumstances around yourself like cushions and settling down comfortably in them? That, I think, is something I'm sometimes guilty of. We're probably all guilty of, arranging circumstances around yourself like cushions and settling down comfortably in them. There are lots of comfortable and cozy things about Christmas, but that is not at the heart of it. This has been just a really, really fun little bonus Christmas read. Before the end of the year, Christmas is almost upon us. I probably won't have another video up before Christmas because I'm thinking of switching my upload days to Monday. I don't even know if you guys necessarily notice what day of the week I upload, but typically it's Friday. So I think moving into the new year, I'm gonna try doing Mondays instead. So Monday, December 26th will be my next upload, and I'm going to do my 22 favorite reads of 2022. I've been doing this since 2015, and it's really fun to be able to look back on them and remember the favorite books I read each year. Every year I think, well, 22 is a lot of books, like will I even be able to fill that in? And then I make the list and I realize, actually, do I put in this one or this one? How can I leave that out? I never really have a problem filling up filling up the list. Another thing I wanted to mention to you guys was that we have a sort of book club schedule drawn up for the first half of 2023. You've probably heard me talking about the Bookish Kingdom Book Club. It kind of grew out of my Discord group. I started a Discord group about 2 years ago. It's like a really simplified chat room. And I've been trying to move away from social media. I'm not on Instagram much. I'm not always checking my DMs. And so I missed having a place to just kind of casually interact with you guys. And Discord has been such a wonderful solution because the pace is take it at your own pace. You know, it is not like built on the algorithm and stories disappear in 24 hours. Like you can just pop in, share a recipe, share a book you've been reading, and then maybe you don't log in for a couple weeks or a couple months, and then you come back and see how everybody's doing. It's been just such a wonderful place to catch up with you guys. And we were doing some read-alongs in Discord where we would just, you know, type in the chat to discuss. But we started doing a video call to discuss instead, and that has been such a delight. Thank you so much to everyone who has come out and taken part in the book club video calls. Obviously, I chat with you all the time about books, and I do love hearing your comments here on YouTube and on Discord, but it's so different when you get to see someone face to face. It's just so wonderful to be able to talk about these books face to face, and I have always, every single time, you know, learned something new, thought about the book in a slightly different way, and it's just absolutely marvelous. If you're interested in taking part in the book club, we do still discuss a little bit in Discord, so I can send you an invite to join the Discord group that you can access on like a web browser, or you can download it as an app on your phone. But if you don't want to be in Discord, but you still want to do the video call about, you know, where we chat about the book of the month, you can just send me your email and I'll add you to the email list. I post the video call link in Discord and I also email it out. So anyway, if you would like to take part in 2023, you can just drop me an email, emma@bookishprincess.com, and I can add you to Discord and add you to the email list. But our books, so that you know, in January, we're reading The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and we're going to be discussing that in our video call on Saturday, January 21st. We're going to be discussing Evelina by Fanny Burney for February, on Saturday, February 18th. And all these are going to be, I think, at 1 p.m. Eastern. On Saturday, March 18th, we're going to be discussing Fairy Tales by Oscar Wilde. That should be fun for St. Patrick's Day to have an Irish author. And then April is undecided at the moment. May is going to be Airs Above Ground by Mary Stuart. I'm really excited for this one. That's the Mary Stuart that is set in, I think, Vienna there's like a Austrian horse school? No, Spanish riding school, I think it's called. So it just sounds like a really, really awesome setting. And then on Saturday, June 23rd, we're going to be discussing Death Comes to the Archbishop by Willa Cather, which I've been meaning to read for ages. So those are our plans for the Bookish Kingdom Book Club in 2023. Just drop me an email, emma@bookishprincess.com, if you want to be part of it. I wish you all a very blessed and very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for watching and following along this year. I'll talk to you again soon, and until then, I hope you have a magical and a bookish day. Bye.